W2UFO.
UFO, W2UFO. And what's the name?
Yeah, name here is Mark. Located in North Carolina, about 21 miles south of the Virginia border, outside of Greensboro, in a small rural town called Stokesdale. You got a good signal. About 5'9" into North Carolina, and the name is Mark. Over.
Roger, Mark. Why don't you give me about 15 seconds, tell me about your antenna system, and let me look around and see if I can find a better path for us, Roger.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm running a...
For us, Roger.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm running a Kenwood TS590FG. So fiddling with it, getting used to it. I just recently got it. So I've been playing with it, still trying to figure out where all the controls are, but did spend some time with a friend of mine and set it up, and it seems to be working well, pushing about a kilowatt to a loop antenna, and that antenna is not that high off the ground at the moment, just kind of in a test mode with it, but all seems to be good, about 265 feet in a triangle configuration. Over.
Yes, sir. Well, normally we go through a whole setup procedure, but what is your mic gain at the moment, say? What's your mic level setting at the moment?
What's your level mic level setting at the moment?
Well, the ALC is sitting at about between around 3/4. The compression level, do I have the compression on? The compression's on. Run about 15 dB of compression, and everything seems to be where it should be. Reports I've been getting have been pretty good. Over.
Yes, sir. Well, I was just asking on your mic level. I think you could come up maybe 10 clicks on your mic level because your dynamic range looks to be about 5 dB, and we're looking for about 3 dB, which would really make you a lot louder.
3 dB, which would really make you a lot louder.
Okay, your processor and hold the processor button on, and you should be able to go in there and turn your input on that radio for your input gain rather than the output gain. Input gain will make you give a little bit more robust audio on the Kenwood. KB9UMI.
Sir, this is a control net. I don't know what you're doing there, but, this is a control net. Roger, Roger, I appreciate it.
But, this is a control net. Roger, Roger, I appreciate it.
The gentleman does not have, it could be louder if he would just pump up just a little bit, maybe 10 clicks or 5 clicks from where he was.
Pump up just a little bit, maybe 10 clicks or 5 clicks from where he was.
Yeah, I'll have to look into this again. Like I said, I'm learning the radio, and I'm still trying. You got to realize I came off an old Kenwood 940, so this radio is light years ahead of it. Over.
Yes, sir. You sound a lot fuller there, for sure. We won't go into EQ because, you sound close enough. If you want to hear your audio, particularly since, I got a lot better copy on you now. If you go to YouTube, do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook. That will bring you to this recording, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow.
Let's bring you to this recording, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. I'll check that out. All righty. Well, there may be some other stations in there, so I don't want to be a radio air hog here. And nice talking with you. Nice meeting you. Your signal is very good. Like I said, very strong. Audio sounds great. Everything is right on the money. So we'll catch you again. You need to pass me your call because, in all this, I scribbled it down on this piece of paper, and I'm not sure where I got it. Over.
Yes, sir. Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That's KC9VKV. And what was yours again?
KC9VKV. And what was yours again?
Yeah, okay, KC9VKV. The call here is Whiskey 2, Uniform, Florida, Ontario, like unidentified flying object. Over.
That's what it was. Unidentified flying object. That's neat. That's what I should be. An unidentified flying object.
Could be. An unidentified flying object.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you a little quick rundown and I'll let you pick up the others. Yeah, the history of this call is interesting. This call sign was originally issued to the United States Air Force, the Mitchell Air Force Base on Long Island. And if you look at my QRZ page, you'll see a couple of photographs. And there's some photographs of my dad. One of them has him standing overlooking someone operating, and the other one has him at the station operating. And if you look closely at the logbook that's laying on the table, you'll see it has the call sign W2UFO. When the Air Force Base was decommissioned in 1961, everything went sideways, and that was the end of the radio station. When the vanity program came about, I suggested to my dad, who was a ham at the time, I said, why don't you pick up the call? And he said, well, you can probably outlive me, so why don't you take it? So lo and behold, I applied for the call, got the call, and there it is. I'm carrying on the tradition, over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, that's great. That is an interesting call sign. I would cherish that if I were you, Roger.
Interesting call sign. I would cherish that if I were you, Roger.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes, and it's interesting, I've had people say to me, do you think that when this was originally issued to the military, that time originally was issued to the U.S. Air Corps before it became the Air Force, wondering if at that time, if the government chose that call sign, or was it just randomly given out? It's something there's no way I can really ever tell, over.
Yes, sir. Now, did that have anything to do with the Mars operation?
Sure. Now, did that have anything to do with the Mars operation?
No, not at all. That was, well, they did operate, I don't know, I think they did operate Mars, according to my dad at the time. But but this was their radio room, as you can see from the photographs. All the old Hamiltons and Hallicrafters and Collins equipment. That was their radio room, and they would operate the ham radio station from time to time, over.
Yes, I was just thinking it would be quite unique if it was a Mars operation with a call sign UFO.
Quite unique if it was a Mars operation with a call sign UFO.
Yeah, really. That's funny. I never even thought about that. And that's, yeah, it's too bad that there's, although, I might be able to find out, because I'm originally from Long Island, moved down here about 7 years ago. There's somebody I know up in Long Island that's been doing, and we're getting ready to write to release a book. He wrote a book on the history of that Air Force base. And I know the fellow. I have conversations with him once in a while. And I should reach back out to him and see if, I know he put a couple of pictures that I have from that original station that are going to be in that book. But I should do some research. It'd be interesting to find out. I think what I'm going to do is reach out to him and ask him that, over.
Yes, sir. Now, can you imagine being in that station, that military station? You could probably get about any kind of equipment and antenna stuff that you ask for, wouldn't you?
And antenna stuff that you ask for, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, well, if you look at the photograph, I mean, that would be any ham radio operator's dream. Yeah, I would imagine, and my dad said the same thing. He said that many times, if they needed something, they just filled out a requisition and they got it right away. So, God knows what they had, and I'm sure that most of the equipment they were running at that time was state-of-the-art, over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, I was just thinking maybe a little bit different subject matter than what we were talking about, but, that missing airliner that went missing from wherever it was, I forget, India and somewhere to China, they were listening to phasing of, I guess it was a UHF or VHF onboard transmitter somehow, and they could tell by the phasing exactly what was happening with that when that airplane went through this signal. Roger, it wasn't the transmitter wasn't on the plane, but somebody was recording the frequency spectrum, and they could see the oscillations start to come and go as that plane traversed through those radio waves, Roger?
And go being traversed through those radio waves, Roger?
Yeah, it's quite interesting when you think about it. And of course, there's a lot, there's a lot that's probably never been shared about all that. But in fact, it's funny because about a week ago, I was flipping through the TV channels, and I came across, I think National Geographic was playing had a program on that flight and some of the information. It was really kind of wild, but it's just it's weird stuff. It's I used to live when I lived on Long Island. I lived near Grumman, and I could tell you I was about maybe 3-4 miles from Grumman, and there would be times when you would go to get on the radio, and there was nothing on the ham bands, nothing but white noise on the frequency. And I remember at one point, this was going on for a while, and I had contacted the FCC, and I said, there's something weird going on. And they sent a crew out to my house. We checked it, and they happened to be there when that happened. And then they went away, and they did whatever they did, and I didn't hear back from them. And when I followed up, they came back and said that apparently there's nothing going on, and that it must have been a malfunction of my equipment. But I have a feeling that the military, Grumman was doing all kinds of crazy testing, because you used to see the E-2 Hawkeyes and all the planes coming in, all the fighter jets and the crazy aircraft that you normally wouldn't see just floating around the area. And so who knows what was going on there, over?
Yes, sir. I live close to an airfield or airport where UPS has a hub, and they have probably about 80 or so aircraft that come in and go out each morning, and I can tell when one passes through just by the disturbance that it causes. I'm copying the mail, say, on a repeater down maybe 200 miles away, and got a pretty good copy. And then when one of those planes flies across the path of that repeater station, it sets up an oscillation, and it verifies that that plane may be 4,000 feet high, but it still causes a wave oscillation as it passes through that transmission field. Roger?
Oscillation as it passes through that transmission field. Roger?
Yeah, it's really kind of crazy. A good friend of mine unfortunately passed away a couple years back. K2RIW. I don't know if you know Dick Nadel or ever heard of him, but he used to do a lot of high experimental work, and he worked for AIL up in Long Island. He was also involved in the Star Wars program. When at that time it was very secretive in that, and they never really talked much about it. But he talked about some of he used to talk at a very general level, the high level kind of just public information that could be given out. It was always interesting to hear, because Long Island, of course, was the real hotbed for military and aviation development. So you had a lot of companies up there working on some very, very sophisticated equipment, and it's wild. Reminds me, I was on a motorcycle trip out in New Mexico, and I was near White Sands Missile Base. And there's a stretch of the roadway that runs near it, and they got this big traffic sign, with lights on it. So when the lights are flashing, you have to wait in this rest area. So I was sitting around for probably about 40 minutes, and I said, this is nuts. I'm not waiting anymore because it's getting late. Well, I start going down the road, go about half a mile, and out of no place comes 2 Jeeps, fully armed, loaded up with soldiers with automatic weapons. Stopped me, want to know where I'm going, and I told them, and they actually escorted me back to the rest area and wanted to see my ID and that, and wanted to know why I didn't pay attention to the sign. So you wonder what some of the stuff they're testing in those areas, over.
Oh, Roger. Well, they used to talk about that Blackbird doing a Mach-3, and then the successor. Well, they never said much more about Mach-3, but I understand it was Mach 6 to 8, Mach 6 to Mach 8 that the successor to the Blackbird did.
Mach 6 to Mach 8 that the successor to the Blackbird did.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And it's funny because when I got back to the rest area, you could hear what appeared to be like a rocket. You could hear rumbling, but couldn't see anything. So, I know people always talk about UFOs and things of that sort, but, the technology of what they let us see is one thing, and of course the technology that we're not aware of is always, I can imagine the levels and where they've reached. So, it's just kind of amazing. Well, anyway, listen, I'm going to let you run. I know there's a net going on here, and thank you so much for spending the time and yakking with me. I appreciate it. Really enjoyed this, and we'll look for you another time. Have a pleasant evening coming up, and we'll see you down the road, I'm sure, as they say. KC9VKV W2UFO.
Roger, Mark. What will your power out be at the moment?
Roger, Mark. What will your power out be at the moment?
I'm running about, looks like about a kilowatt, over.
Yes, sir, about the same here. Beautiful signal. And if you want to hear it, if you go to YouTube, do that call letter search, KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook. That will take you to this recording. It'll be cut number 1 in a series of 3,000, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow, Roger.
Series of 3,000, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow, Roger.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm going to definitely do that. Okay, well, again, thank you very much for taking the time. And enjoyed the chat here. It's always nice to have fun conversations like this. I get a big kick out of it. So with that, I'm going to time to take the dog out, do his business, and then start thinking about dinner. Have a very pleasant day, and enjoy the rest of the weekend coming up. KC9VKV, W2UFO, North Carolina.
Roger, Mark 73, sir. Thanks for dropping by, and if you get a chance, join us next Friday. We'd love to have you. And we got about time for one more. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.